Now. Uh-huh.
All right. We are on the pod and on the cast. We got them both going.
And we're wearing black. We're
a somber group.
It was Halloween week. We're both wearing black t-shirts and black sweatshirts.
Yeah. I unfortunately wear a lot of black t-shirts.
That's all you wear.
That's sort of been all I wear.
And gray once in a while when you feel light.
Yeah, when I'm feeling happy. Yeah.
We have so much to go over.
Oh my gosh, we have so much.
Yeah.
Well, because we had our good friend Chris Cardone.
Right.
Last week, and that was a bunch of fun. And
take off glasses.
Yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about what we did musically for a week, so
no, we
it's
did
all
not.
kind of piled up.
Let's start with today, which was, we had a super fun day together. We went to a singing bowl concert.
The Bulls sang so well.
They sang great. They didn't play my favorite singing bowl song, Bong Bong Bing Bong. But if you know, it's so tough.
We had so much fun laughing at this thing.
Yeah. If you don't know the singing bowl thing, they have these crystal bowls and they're like different sizes, and some of them are almost like imagine like a wine bottle with the bottom cut off, and they have this padded stick that they rub around.
Yeah,
I think you have a.
I have one. It's not made of crystal. So
no, yours is metal, and Tibetan ones are often metal.
So you hit it.
Right.
And then you roll this thing around.
And it starts, the vibration starts. That's actually super cool, right?
Yeah. It's really cool.
So, and these guys have, and they spend insane amounts of money on it.
They are so, there's thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars, 10 grand, whatever. And they're big, like some of them are like bathroom trash can sized. Like, I mean, they're big. And, you know, they play them just like Adrian demonstrated. It's such an amazing thing because something about the way they vibrate and the tones, and I think some of it, there's a lot to my ear out of tune going on. There's a lot of wobble of...
But there's such pure tones that even any dissonance just is... It's not unpleasant to me.
Well, and I think, to me, the dissonance is sometimes the point because it just short-circuits my brain. And a lot, like I said, I wasn't thinking about anything.
And that never happens with you.
That does not. That was sitting there for an hour and having sort of no thoughts. Just, at some points, I wasn't even aware of being. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it just short circuits something, and you can just get very into just that sound and the wobble and the...
I mean, it's not, I didn't feel like physical vibration in my body like we did at one. We went to one in a cave pre-pandemic in New Mexico. And that's where we first got turned on to it because it's pretty woo-woo, and we're not very woo-woo. I mean, just kind of where we are on the woo-woo spectrum is way to the right on the woo-woo spectrum.
Yeah, we're not very...
Not all the way there. We're not, like, super materialistic, like nothing happens except, you know, the molecules in your brain.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, but we had an experience in the cave where we walked out, we were like, what just happened?
What just happened to me? It was just...
So I've been looking for that ever since.
Yeah, I know. That was just a transcendental experience.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't, I can't even describe it other than that. The show today was great. It was fun. We had a good laugh afterwards.
Mainly because he didn't play any of the Singing Bowl hits.
He didn't play... And I had a hard time not saying, like, you know, a lot of original artists, what they'll do is they'll throw in a few covers. Because I was like, it was a good show, but I didn't, like, know any of the songs.
Couldn't really sing along.
I couldn't sing, you know what I mean? I didn't know where any of the big breakdowns would be, you know? So it's nice sometimes to throw in, if you're doing, like, an hour set, like, throw in a couple covers. Like Bong Bong Bing Bong or a yow bing. That's a famous one.
I remember.
Yeah, everyone knows that one.
Okay. So that's what we did today. And side note, after that, we went to a Middle Eastern market and bought some interesting spices. So
yeah. We were
close
really,
by. So
really fun, and we got El Salvadoran food for the first time.
Right,
so that was great. So it was a day of just doing like
new stuff
we don't normally do.
New experiences.
Yeah. So and then going in reverse order, last night was our show at Boot Barn Hall with Petty Nick's Experience.
That went great.
It went really good. Julian was out of town for 2 months. He was in Europe for 2 months, and he
still did great.
He'd been home for 24 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And just killed it, as he always does. He's the natural.
Yeah.
That guy just has it. It was so great hanging out with the I was saying the backstage hang is always like one of my favorite things. What were your feelings on the show?
I thought it was great. I had to push myself a little bit. As you observed, I had to play a little defense with my voice. No one knew.
No.
But you and me.
Yeah.
No one knew but you and me. But, it's been a couple of months, aside from one short show, there's been a couple of months since I've really sung Stevie Nicks. I did do a workout on Wednesday to get my voice back in the ballpark of it, but I'm not living in that voice, really.
Right.
So I had to think a little bit. And you noticed it. Nobody would think.
No.
Nobody would know.
I noticed Gold Dust Woman, I think, and you were doing the riffing thing you do at the end. You kind of,
and I just went back to the recording on that one.
But you were like doing these little coughs in between.
My voice was really dry. Yeah.
At least on that song. I didn't notice it the rest of the
on that one. Just that one song for some reason.
Yeah. But, I felt rusty overall. So that's not odd that your voice was rusty. I felt rusty in the playing sense, and I also felt rusty in the stage performance sense. Like I just didn't feel like my radar, or I said it.
Your telepathy, right?
Yeah, I was talking to Julian, because I feel like I have that with Julian too, where it's like we're sort of like, I don't even need to be looking at you. I know where you're going, and that just wasn't.
Yeah, well, I tried to move around a little differently than before, so I probably screwed you up a few times.
I normally would have read it. It wasn't like it wasn't there. It was just a little like staticky.
Yeah.
The connection wasn't clear.
Still, I want to say that, like, in spite of these things we're saying about the show,
I know we're so. Spoiled.
We've been operating at 100%, like damn near perfection for so many shows in a row. That one was maybe 98.
Yeah. And it's worth talking about. It was also interesting because it was we should mention Elite Equine Rescue was nice enough to have us for the show. They were doing a fundraiser for a very special horse, and
Comey, a polo horse who needs spine surgery.
So
didn't know they did that on horses.
No, I can't imagine. And because it was a fundraiser, it wasn't necessarily our crowd. We got them by the end. By the end. It was everybody on their feet. Blah blah blah.
But I did have to do a couple Plan Bs. So
let's talk about that, because that's interesting.
So we are running a stage performance class right now at Performance High that's 5 weeks long.
Right.
And earlier that day, we did the section on talking, like stage talk, talking to the audience, all the different kinds of talking that there are. There's introducing songs, there's hype, there's welcome, here's who we are, there's goodbye. And so we had just talked through song introductions we just taught song introductions and all this other stuff, and we talked about how you need to have a plan B in case the thing the story you're planning on telling, like say you have some 2-minute story that you're planning on telling before a song, which I often do before Landslide, but you're getting the sense that this audience isn't a listening audience. It's not quieting down for you.
They're
you should have
rowdy.
You should have a plan B for what you're going to say, so you're not stuck trying to talk over a rowdy bar crowd. And I had to do that because half the room was talking.
Yeah.
So I just made it a super short, 2 short sentence kind of thing.
And that's why you have that plan B, because you don't know what it's going to be like when you get to that moment in the show. And it's so powerful to know what you're going to do instead.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is everybody quieted down during Landslide, and then I had them. Then I had the whole room.
I felt really bad, and I really, actually, I should have said something because I knew this was not going to work. One of the lead people, I don't know what her role was, wanted to get up after landslide and remind people about the raffle and, and Shane, thanks to Shane, excellent sound guy, best sound guy in the world. He set stuff the way it was set last time we were there, and we got there and just started playing, and it was like, well, this is pretty good. Like, it was amazing. Shane's great. And he came back on the set break and was like, by the way, I think it was Sarah. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting the name. She's going to come out after landslide, and I feel bad that I didn't say anything because I knew that is not going to work.
That is not the right time. By
that time in the show, that 18-wheeler is headed downhill. There's a lot of momentum going.
Yeah, that totally
killed it. Did not go great. And I was almost, we were too late. I almost tried to grab you backstage and be like, can we go out and, stand by this lady while she's talking and try to
hype it a little
bit.
Get
people to pay attention. Yeah. But it was too late. By then it was, Anyway, it was an excellent lesson to me. I'll do a takeaway. I forgot to do takeaways. It was a great lesson to me on just not pushing too much, but just applying the pressure, trying, keeping it up, and having faith that you'll get them eventually.
Right. You've talked about this before. When you have an audience that you don't own,
right,
it's not 100% with you, you can't demand that they come with you. Like, everybody get on the dance floor now.
And there are times in my life, sometimes even recently, where I would not have had the confidence to do that. I would have started chewing the scenery. I'm not a singer. I'm not talking on mic. I'm not whatever. But I would have started, overperforming a ton. I'm going to get you.
Oh.
And that was my takeaway from this, was just going... Trust the plan, trust the set, trust the vocalist, this show works. Just relax and wait for it. It'll work eventually.
Yeah.
And it did, and I think that's something that, I maybe this was even a breakthrough for me this week. I just had the confidence of going, we're going to get them.
Yeah.
And
to clarify, people were enjoying the show from the beginning.
I'm sorry, don't think about it. Yeah.
This show works. It's not like the show wasn't working. What we mean when we say, the show works or we got the audience is we're talking about the entire room being part of the experience, not the back being rowdy by the bar, the sides having their own conversation. We're talking about, when you own the whole room.
When you own the whole room. And there is that, we love talking about it, that back and forth energy where you've really got the crowd and the band and the group, and that energy is, they're sending it up to you and you're sending it back to them. And they were enjoying it the whole time. The applause was great.
Yeah.
And, it's not at all I don't want to make it sound like they were, it's not the scene in Blues Brothers where they're throwing beer bottles at the chicken wire. Yeah. It was far from that. It was great, but we just didn't have them. And by the end, it was everyone on their feet and the normal experience we have at least at that venue. But, like I said, that was my takeaway. Is just sometimes you just need to trust, I trust the material. I trust, my other musicians. Anyway.
Cool. Let's move on. We have so much to talk about.
Oh my gosh. So,
where's that bass?
Let's talk about
that new leaf bass. So when Chris Cardone came over last week, he brought this gorgeous thing. Check this out.
Yeah.
New leaf, 4-string. It is green. I do not know what kind of wood this is. Did he tell us?
He didn't say, no.
Okay.
But obviously wood grained a bunch.
Yeah, it just feels so solid. And I texted him the next day and I said, damn you for giving me such a great bass to play with, because
it does feel like carved out of stone.
Oh, it's just so solid. And now I want it. And it's got you want to talk about the what are these called?
They're called hip shot tuners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you can flip this and immediately the string is tuned to a different note, and you can set what note that you tune it to. So like if you want to have one lower note on the lowest string here, you could tune it so that like instead of this being an E string, it's a D string.
Yeah.
Or a B string if you wanted to.
Essentially what it's got is two tuning keys. So it's got your main tuning key, and then when you flip the switch, you're going to the tuning key that's on the back. Right? So you can tune that back one to whatever you want, and then when you flip it, you just go to that other note.
Yep.
Originally developed because a lot of I was going to put that away for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. New Leaf basses. Yeah, hip shot tuners have been around forever. They were originally developed because a lot of grunge and nu metal stuff was in a tuning called drop D. Doesn't matter. But it made it so musicians could go in and out of that tuning seamlessly. The other thing, and I think maybe this is why it was invented, was in country music, often normal guitar players want to simulate a baritone guitar sound, that really low, growly, you hear it on Dwight Yoakam's first couple of records for sure, and that hip shot would let them drop their low string down to a D or a C or whatever it was, and they could just like flip switch and then flip it back, and then they were out of that baritone thing. So a lot of tech. Although on that bass, usually you just put the hip shot tuner on the lowest string. On that bass, it's on every tuner. So you can go in and out of every crazy tuning.
That
it's
would
amazing.
mess with my brain. Even just one hip shot tuner would mess with my brain.
Yeah.
I just like how that bass feels.
Yeah. And it sounds great.
Solid.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to give a little shout out to
New Leaf basses. Yeah. And obviously beautiful. So let's go and keep going in reverse order. I was in the studio with Eric Golden. I've been talking about it for a while. We're hyping up this country record we're doing. We're not hyping it up. It's been a year-long project writing these songs with Eric. And it has been a very collaborative thing. We've been getting together almost weekly and literally just sitting there and co-writing, like old school co-writing, pitching ideas, a little bit of the back and forth that we might do where like I have a musical idea, I send it to you, you start putting lyrics. But more than that, it's me and Eric with 2 acoustic guitars and just like banging stuff out. And we spent a year writing 10, 12 songs. We're not going to record all of them because some of them aren't great, but a lot of them are really good, and it was really fun. We went into Mighty Fine Studios. I got to shout out Lauren, the engineer, dynamite engineer, just a truly talented and knowledgeable and experienced young engineer.
female.
Yeah.
Notable. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, because there aren't that many doing that, and it was just really fun seeing those songs come to life. So we recorded them. It's not always how I like to record, but for certain situations, we were recording the live band in the room. We've probably talked about this on the pod, right? That usually we would go instrument by instrument. We'd figure out exactly how we want the song to go, and then we'd start with drums, make sure drums are perfect, then add bass, make sure bass is perfect, then add that stuff on top, and then, and then vocals, and very often, actually, I like to do bass last because I'm weird that way. But in this case, we were doing live band in the room. Eric's dad, Jeff Golden, who is a very famous, well-respected local guy in the country scene. He's an oddly big deal. Like he's a big deal. And for good reason, because he's such a beautiful guitar player. And anyway, we were tracking live with Elwood and Eric and Phil, his bass player. And it was fun seeing those things kind of come to life. And
yeah, I like Mighty Fine. It's a gorgeous room.
Mighty Fine is a gorgeous room.
Great people.
And, great everything. It's clearly good people are involved in that place. Yeah. So that was my first time there. But it was interesting doing that old school producing thing where usually I am both the producer and the engineer, meaning the guy putting out the producer's the guy running the session, deciding how the songs are going to go. The engineer is the guy placing mics, doing all the knob stuff.
Yeah.
And usually I'm doing both. And so this was like an old school version of, I was sort of sitting at the back of the room a lot of times, and just letting Lauren do her thing and just focusing on the performances. It was really interesting too, because I've played with Elwood so much. We'll talk about this on the Elwood episode, but like twice I could feel him looking at me through the glass. I was in the...
You in the control room?
I was in the control room. They were in the live room. There's the big window. We've all seen movies where they do recordings. I know what it feels like when Elwood's looking at my back. Like, I could feel it. And I turned around and sure enough, and it wasn't like a negative thing. It was like, he was just bopping along. He was like, this is kind of how you want it shuffled, you know, and he was just looking for a thumbs up, which is why he's a great studio drummer as well as live drummer. And then there was another time where he started a song and he didn't like how he started it, and he stopped it immediately and called the band off, and he was like, I kind of messed up at the top, and I was just going to keep going if Justin didn't notice, but clearly he noticed, and so I stopped it, and I didn't do anything. Like, maybe I straightened up in my chair or made a note or something, but like, we just been around each other enough that like I can really read. I think we can really read each other. For better or worse. Yeah, what else do we want to talk about?
Let's circle back to the stage performance class briefly, because
Okay.
we have an announcement.
Yeah.
This is maybe a little premature to be announcing, but we're going to do it anyway. So we're going to write a book.
Yeah, long story short.
Just going to put it out there. We're
Yeah.
going to write a book on how to perform.
Yeah.
Because I wrote we wrote together, but I wrote most of the outline for Saturday's session, which
Yeah.
was on talking. And
Stage talking.
And yeah, sorry, we already talked about that
10
minutes ago. And I was like, I just wrote a chapter of your book.
Yeah.
It was going to be your book. And then I just was like, here's some things I know. And they just fell out onto the page. And we both know all these things. And
Right.
we just, I think partly from doing this podcast for almost 2 years now, and from working together in bands and constantly analyzing what's working and not working, and analyzing other concerts and what's working, I think we have just amassed some knowledge. And so we're gonna write a book.
We're going to write a book about stage performance and, like you said, how to perform.
The basic how-tos. It'll be for people who are typical performance high clients, basically.
Right.
We're not going to try to say, here's how, Beyonce should perform.
Right.
Like, who's going to buy that book? Because, maybe somebody would buy that book, but, like, nobody who's actually going to get to that level is going to buy that book. This is for the people we work with every day who are getting on stage or have been on stage some, or they're local in the scene and they just want to level up.
It's going to be for beginning and working and on their way musicians.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we were talking. I think that's the maybe not unique perspective, but that's sort of the different perspective we have, is we're not coming from here's how to perform if you're a wildly famous person playing to thousands of people. It's the experiences of being a working musician, performing for audiences who may not know you or may not care about you, or, all of those things. Beginners, I think we're going to focus on a lot. Just like, here's how you start, here are the training wheels so that you can get out there and do a good job, but also develop into something where, you've got the charisma, so rules don't matter anymore.
And the thing that I'm excited about is that I feel like we have unique and good ideas, not unique and weird.
Right.
But, I got certified by Tom Jackson Productions. Tom Jackson is a coach in Nashville. He's been a live music producer, meaning he produces live shows.
Right.
Like a record producer produces recorded music, a live music producer produces live shows. So he has resources on this. He has a book on it. He has DVDs. He's been teaching this stuff for a long time to a lot of people. And so for a long time, since my knowledge was largely informed by his framework, I didn't feel like I had anything else to add. But now that we've done a lot of coaching and you have your own perspective, which is not informed by Tom Jackson.
Right.
And I wrote that chapter, none of which is in Tom's materials.
Right.
Nothing I wrote for Saturday is in anything that he teaches. I'm like, I do have something unique to say.
Right.
I have learned some stuff just through experience. And when I go try to put it into a framework, I found one. Like, we have one.
I think we have more of one. And, and I'm excited about so many of we talk about it on the pod all the time, obliquely. There's some philosophies of performing that, like, if you start from understanding what a performance is, understanding what an audience wants, or our way of interpreting, it's going to be our opinion, but, like, there are some core things where, if you start there and then get into the fundamentals, it's just, I think we're going to go back to front. And I'm also excited talking about, and I don't think this gets talked about, is performance issues with all different types of gigs. Mm-hmm. Like, not just the polite sit down, listen, not just the theater style audience, but, what are some tips for if you're a wedding or bar performer? What mm-hmm. are some tips if you're, I came up doing lots of punk rock basement, mm-hmm. Like, rowdy people in your face shows, and, like, that's mm-hmm. a different type of thing, and different types of things are going to work, and there's some different considerations there. So I think it's going to be really fun to just kind of, like, talk about all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's our announcement.
There's our announcement.
It's an announcement, which means that now we have to do it.
Now we have to do it. So there's a book coming.
Someday.
I'm sure it'll just be self-published. It's not, but whatever.
It's not like we landed a contract.
It's gonna come out, and we're gonna. I'm excited. I'm literally excited about it. Like, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Just fun to kind of get all that stuff down.
Working on it together. It's just we just work so well together. You have ideas and I have ideas, and we give each other ideas, and then we're like, oh my God, that's so right. But what about this too? And
different strengths.
We are so lucky.
I mean, yeah.
To be able to work together.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't take it for granted.
Yeah, sure shouldn't. Speaking of Beyonce's and crazy famous performers, we went and saw the Taylor Swift movie. Which I really, interestingly, I don't know that I would recommend anybody go see it.
Really?
If you want to see it, see it. It is phenomenal. It is absolutely mind-blowing. I would say if you have children, especially young girl children, mm-hmm. take them. Like, but as phenomenally shot and produced and performed as it was, if you're not, it is for Taylor fans. Mm-hmm. And, like, we both like Taylor, and you're becoming more of a fan.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It's long.
Yeah, but, also, I mean, one of the reasons we went to see it is she's a cultural phenomenon that we need to be informed about, and I think I could recommend it to anyone based on that alone. You
know what? I think that is a valid point.
You should see the Eras Tour.
The Eras Tour is a historical moment.
Yeah.
Maybe even outside of music. I mean, this is the amount of sheer money that's been made on this tour, this is like this is something that will get a line in a history book. And it's worth going and seeing while it's in theaters. Yeah. So I agree with you in that sense. What were your thoughts?
About the movie?
Yeah, about the movie.
Oh, God, similar, that it was spectacular.
Yeah.
That I didn't connect with Taylor Swift personally.
Yeah.
So can I go ahead and dive into, like, what I've been doing the last few days?
Sure.
Yeah, since it's such a phenomenal show, and her songs are undeniably well-written songs, all of the hits are well-written, and everything is done so perfectly, I was just asking myself, what is it that is not connecting for me? So I've taken a little bit of a deep dive into Taylor Swift over the last few days. I watched an NPR Tiny Desk concert that she did solo.
Which is great.
I went all the way back to the country albums when she was, 14, 16, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
And I've made myself listen to at least half of a song of at least 2 songs, which is not a lot, but I really don't like them.
Yeah.
And then I've been working my way forward through her discography, and I'm on the Red album, but the deluxe version,
right,
which she released, the Taylor's version, the re-recorded one, which has 30 songs on it and some collabs with Ed Sheeran and Phoebe Bridgers.
I need to get into that, yeah.
The later I went in her discography, well, the first thing happened was the more I listened to, the more I hated her voice at first.
Right.
Because the way she sings, I believe she never uses mix at all. She always hits high notes hard and low notes soft. So like over and over and over, and it's just grating on my brain. I felt like I was being yelled at. I felt like I was being yelled at during her concert.
Yeah, there was a little of that.
She does not mix. She pushes her chest voice up, and she does it with great finesse, but she does not know how to mix, in my opinion.
Right.
And
or
so,
chooses not to, at least.
Or she may choose not to. That's a good point.
Does.
It makes her sound younger to sing the way she does, because she gets this little like tiny little high chest voice, like it's tiny like this, you know.
I love it when you demonstrate stuff.
I could imitate her.
Yeah.
I should do one.
Yeah.
But so an interesting thing happened. So I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be quite a journey getting through her discography, and I'm like disliking her voice more and more. But then Speak Now, I did not dislike. There were a couple songs in there I liked.
Yeah.
The Red album, I was like, oh, I actually like some of these songs. The Red Deluxe album, the re-release that she re-recorded with all these new songs, I was like, I think I like Taylor Swift now. She was modifying, she was not using her voice in the same way. I mean, she still doesn't mix, but she's not yelling so much.
She's a different singer now than she was when she was younger.
And her melodies were getting more creative. The notes she would end her phrases on were becoming occasionally less predictable. She was growing as an artist in every way, because she's a very smart woman and very talented. And then I got to 1989, and I love 1989.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm becoming a Taylor Swift fan. I'm no longer making myself listen to at least half a song. I am listening to songs repeatedly. Right. Because I love them.
Because they're, yeah.
So I'm becoming a Taylor Swift fan at this point. Yeah. And it's been interesting. I've told you, but I didn't connect with her personally by watching the movie, the concert movie.
Right.
Because I felt like it was too polished. It was like there was no real her in there. There was not a single tiny mistake or vulnerability or anything or sense of even reality that she's like letting down a veil.
Right.
Or like, you know, when she's doing a song intro. But at her NPR Tiny Desk concert, she felt very real. She was there for real in the room with people. She was kind of figuring out her sentences as she said them.
Nice. Yeah.
It wasn't every word planned exactly. Like I felt like the Eras Tour was. So that opened the door for me. And then, you know, listening to all her songs. And
I really respect that you would take the time to go, hey, clearly this is something to people. I don't get it. But given what we do,
I need to
understand this. You know, I don't know if I've ever said it here, but that was a big thing that happened to me in my career development. I was in California, and I wound up working in a couple studios that were related, but they did almost all rap, hip hop, hyphy, Northern California kind of, and I didn't get it. And so therefore I was not doing a good job as an engineer or a mix engineer. And luckily my boss, the studio owner, pulled me aside and was like, you need to figure this out or we're going to have to let you go, basically.
Wow.
You know, like, not like immediately, but like, you're not making people happy. And I know you know what you're doing. You clearly just, there's something, you need to figure it out. And so I had to do that same deep dive into that style of music and go, what is it about this that people like and what do they want to hear and what, and it changed my perspective as a musician and producer and mixer and engineer like a ton to go like, oh, and I really just had to listen to a bunch of it and really dive into it and figure out, and then I figured out, oh, I know what people want to hear and I know how they want it to hit them and you know, not that I know perfectly or whatever, but I have I can mix a rap record now. And so I really respect that, you know. By the way, I'll do a recommendation. I'm trying to get us back on themes. There is an album by Ryan Adams. Ryan Adams also did a record called Heartbreaker, which will mess you up. Heartbreaker is an unbelievable record. Unreal songwriting. Just, it's crazy. But he also did a full remake of Taylor Swift's album 1989.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I don't think I've listened to all of it yet.
You would dig it. Basically, it's 1989, but done in the style, very influenced by, like, Ryan Adams can be very folk, but also he's insanely influenced by the Smiths and Morrissey and all that stuff.
Cool.
And so it's 1989, but done mainly with all guitars. And if there are keys, they're acoustic keys and a drummer playing it. And it's like live band, but it's done note for note, but in that emo / folk style. Cool. So if you're not, if you're an older music listener and you're looking for a door into that, when you hear the songs played in that way, you go, oh, I get how good this song is. Not distracted by all the keyboards and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, gosh, we've covered almost everything. You want to sew this one up or throw a few more things in?
Well, there's one more thing that we were going to talk about, and that's Ipecac. Yeah,
man. Ipecac doing such good things. I think I talked about producing them. It's a hard rock band. I don't think they're all teens anymore. When I started working with them, they were all teens. And there might be a couple of 20, 21-year-olds in there now. But they just released their EP that I produced and recorded in August, I think. Maybe September, I don't know. And they did a couple tiny tours behind that. And I was just looking tonight, and there was an article on them in Denver Westward, which is the entertainment paper of record for Denver Metro, and the headline of that was Ipecac is one of the best rock bands in Denver right now, which is a pretty big endorsement.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. And I'm just thrilled for them. I was talking to their manager today, and I hadn't heard a lot of the big news, but they are, it's interesting that they are they've put out a few songs before, but this was their official sort of debutante ball of we're really launching ourselves as, hey, pay attention to us, with the EP and the EP release party and all the shows they've been doing and opening for some Denver stalwarts like MF Ruckus and Rocket Surgeons, like some locally big names. And they're just building and growing and doing their thing, and it's great to hear that Denver Westward article was just incredibly flattering. It was really, And
you said that it described the music exactly how you were aiming to produce it. Isn't that right?
I was actually really thrilled by that, because that was not a record I left thinking that everyone was thrilled with, which happens sometimes in every... That's not a big deal.
It's hard to get 10 people in a project to all be thrilled with the result of
anything. Because, and they have the label guy and the manager and the this and the that, and it's a local label. Don't label, maybe it's a strong word, but don't, I'm not trying to blow it up or anything. Sailor Records, amazing support of the local scene. My point is it's not Atlantic or something. But yeah, they've got a lot of people in their camp, and getting everybody happy is a hard thing. And
but apparently you did it.
Apparently we did it. The way they described the music was the youthful energy and hard rock with a punk energy with a glam edge, which was like if I had sat down and written a mission statement for that production, it would have been exactly that. That's what I saw in it, and that's what I tried to bring out. And it was amazing, like, reading that and going like, wow, they're describing exactly how I was trying to frame what great. Those guys do.
It feels really good.
Yeah, it feels really good. It feels really good. There were a couple times where they noticed that. And apparently, talking to their manager, there were several people have described the kind of, I've never seen them live, like in a concert, but I've been in the room with them working on pre-production and band rehearsals and that kind of thing. And their music has this manic energy, and it's hard rock, but it's manic. It's not like real gritted, metal kind of where it's all it's kind of manic. And I wanted to make sure we got that on the record, and apparently that's been the rave reviews from everybody. It's like, this just seems like wild and crazy, and like the whole thing's exploding the whole time, and like that's what I was so going for. And it's really gratifying to find out that came across, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
We should probably wrap. I think it's
yeah,
been a
might
long
as well,
one.
man.
Feels like a long one.
Yeah, it's good. Lots of updates and stuff, guys. We really appreciate everyone who listens to this.
Absolutely.
You have no idea. We are coming up on 2 years of doing this.
I know.
And
yeah, we're like a couple months away from that.
A couple months away, not that close, but getting there.
Yeah.
And gosh, so much great stuff's come out of it. The idea for the book and just the connections.
And all the generous sponsorships.
You know, the generous sponsorships are, we can't, I literally am having trouble finding room for the money. The office is half full, the shed out back, I shouldn't say that. Anyway.
Piles of cash.
Piles of cash. Stop mailing us cash. We don't know what to do with all of it.
Spend it on groceries.
The bank won't take it. They're like, we don't have room for this.
They're like, wait, this is Monopoly money. No, this is imaginary money. Huh. You think you're holding a pile of cash? Anyway. This one is sponsored by New Leaf Bases.
New Leaf Bases.
But also, sorry, I went in the reverse with this one.
No, let's, as always, we're sponsored by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And New Leaf Bases. I'd also highly recommend just go to some ethnic food restaurant that you have not had before. It is a blast to just have some fun new stuff. Yeah. So that's our recommendation. Maybe next week we will drink some of the weird drinks we got at the Middle Eastern.
Yeah, we got a couple weird drinks.
Couple weirdo drinks. We got a basil drink that has seeds floating in it.
It looks like bugs.
Yeah.
It looks like little bugs in little like cocoons floating around inside.
Yeah, well, yeah. Who knows? Get out, try some new stuff. Don't try any new podcasts because this is the very best one. Don't look at any other ones. Don't look at any other ones. They're not good. It's not worth your time. Stay right here. Only listen to this one.
Okay, we'll see you next week.